This week's matchup versus the New England Patriots is a interesting matchup. Going into it 2 weeks ago, you would have looked at the Patriots as more of a easier team to play against than what you would anticipate now. Patriots do have two impressive wins under their belt, one versus the Chargers, who have beaten the Browns, and their defense is coming alive in the last 2 weeks, especially. But that being said, the Cleveland Browns are still in a position to where they can't afford to give up anything and lose games, especially at this point of the year. So who's going to come out on top? Who has the edge in this game? We're going to talk about that. But before I do, I want to give a shout out to the Patreon.com Dog Check tier members. I'm going to start with Michael Matique, Cam Vex, Jaleel Salim Jr. and Sr., Caleb Pickering, Benjamin Woods, Michael Terry, Sam28, Wani Boy, Rob Morehouse, Tyler Chiz, Michael Morales, Mark Kahn, Max Haymaker, Nick Merrick, D.A.J., Joe Hart, Gabriel Wilson, Fred Pat III, David Valtiar, Relentless Buck, Rex Kaufman, Kevin Johnson, Cleveland Cart, Matt H., Sign Sheets, Gemini, Leon Freeman, Fight 3074, Chunt, Yo-Yo, Matt Lloyd, Paul Wilcox, Hondo Magnifico, Cal Stoffer, Lukey from Munich, Dave Roth, J-Guy101, Musty Taco, Brad Cowbo, Dylan W., James McGinley, Arendal, Chad Gimme, David Maldonado, Josh Spindor, Austin Rich, Mark M., Stuart Moore, Dylan Hill, Cleveland BCI, Robert Germain, Dave Mike May, Andrew Hirsch, Curtis Bear, Batman, Barack Kumar, John Albert, Beerman069, Masayua, Butts Roland, Mac House, Reeve Hertz, Philip Wilcoxon, Marie Vivert, Sean Barron, Gagos Pisano, Dom Gazzulo, Nick Nasty, Ian Whitaker, Colin 216, Christian, Dave Strong, Michael Stone, Soul Train, Billy, Moose Gentry, Austin Z, Mark Burnett II, Andre Griffin, Otis Wolf, Dog Pound Kai, Greg Ehlers, Austin Bolin, Lydia Mahawk, Alexander Davis, Chris Falms, Picktown Browns backer, Max Nilikenko, Max Al Dojo, and Water Bear Marketing. Again, guys, thank you so much for your support. It means a ton to me. Now let's break down this game. This game is interesting, right? Because I don't know what to make of the New England Patriots. They don't, when you watch them, look like a particularly great team, right? They don't strike you as the Patriots of old. They strike you as a pretty good team. Like, I feel like if this weren't for, the names like Bill Belichick being involved with this team, we would look at the Patriots kind of similarly, or at least like on the same level, if not a little higher than like a team like the Minnesota Vikings, right? A perpetually pretty good team that's not necessarily a team that you would take as a huge threat to you. And that's where the Browns are right now. They're kind of in that in-between place. Now, the Patriots do have some things going for them. Obviously, they're not a bad team. And we're going to start with the Browns' defensive matchup versus this Patriots offense. Now, what is this Patriots offense if you've not watched a ton of New England Patriots football? I would say they have what I would call a competent offense with a competent quarterback, right? Their offense is good enough at everything. They can run okay. They can pass okay. They don't do anything that makes you afraid, right? There's no Lamar Jackson on the ground that make you afraid, or Patrick Mahomes' arm strength, or Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. They don't have any individual player that makes you worried about them, but they are a serviceable offense, right? They're going to put up, if you don't play a good defensive game, probably around 17 to 24 points because they're a competent offense. Mac Jones, he looks competent as a quarterback, good enough arm strength to get the ball downfield, has some nice touches on some balls that are about 25, 30 downfield. When he has to fit into like tight windows closer to him and he has to zip the ball a little bit, that's where he struggles, and that's where you can see some of his limitations. He doesn't have a ton of zip on his ball, but he does have a lot of touch. I know mentally I want to think this just because he wears 10 and he plays for the Patriots. He reminds me a lot of Jimmy Garoppolo because of the quick release and because of the touch, but not the zip, right? They're kind of similar players in that respect. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, probably not as good as seeing the field as Mac Jones is at this point, but that might be because of the offense that it appears that way. But nonetheless, I think Mac Jones is serviceable, right? The quarterback's not a weak spot for this offense, but it's not necessarily a strong spot, right? If the Browns give up 350 yards passing and 3 passing touchdowns in this game, people are going to be upset, and rightfully so, because Mac Jones is not the type of quarterback who should be doing that to you. But he's the type of quarterback that's probably going to get around 200 yards, probably going to throw a touchdown or two. So that's kind of what they are offensively. They're just very, very competent. They have good running game, or at least the last few weeks they have had a decent running game. They don't rely on this offense to win by any means. Like even the last 2 wins that they have, you can point to 2 pick sixes that they had were really the turning point in each week. So they rely on points on the defense, but they're not a stagnant kind of awful offense. They're just competent, I guess would be the best way to put them. Now, what can the Browns do against them? One, if JOK comes back, that's going to be a huge deal because they go underneath a lot, and those linebackers become very important versus a defense that goes underneath as much as the Patriots do. I don't think this is an offense that's going to really push the issues that the Browns have had in previous weeks, right? When you talk about the offenses that do, it's strong arm quarterbacks who ferociously push the ball downfield with intent, right? Like all the time. Justin Herbert exploited that on the Browns because he refuses to take a check down. He will throw the ball downfield no matter what. That stresses the Browns defense out in a way that they can't really recover from. We saw last week, even though Joe Burrow was ferocious in his attempts to Jamar Chase, he just didn't have the arm strength to take advantage of what the Browns defense can't do. Jamar Chase was open on some of those plays. The ball either hung or, Jamar Chase didn't catch it in some places. So that's really what you need to do to attack this Browns defense. Offensively on the offensive line standpoint for the Patriots as well, they have a really good offensive line, actually. I think their offensive line is really good. It's the strength of this offense. I think that's why so many things around it are competent. They use that combination of the run game, and they really rely on Jacoby Myers a lot in that passing game. Again, they're a very serviceable offense. They're kind of like the Joe Flacco Ravens in that way. But they're not necessarily a great offense. They just have a good offensive line. They can control the clock. If you make mistakes, if you turn the ball over, their offense is good enough to capitalize on that to the point to where the team can win. But the offense should not be the reason why you lose against the Patriots. And I think the Browns are equipped defensively enough to take advantage of those things. And if the Browns don't turn the ball over a ton on offense, I think they'll be in a good position here. One thing to note, too, is that the Patriots don't have a lot of good external pass protectors despite having a good offensive line, which might mean that they're going to give one-on-ones. If they give one-on-ones, Myles Garrett against any left tackle one-on-one, I feel good about that. So we'll see what they do there. But that's something to keep a note on. Now let's talk about this Browns matchup versus this defense of the Patriots. Patriots have a really good defense. I don't know if it's the best defense the Browns have played this year, but it's certainly a good one. I think they have some really good corners, some really good safeties, and I think the back end of that defense is playing especially well. And I think the front end of the defense is playing well. I think the defensive line is playing well. Dietrich Wise and Matt Judon have really come on of late. I think they're playing well there. I think the linebackers, though, are where you can exploit them. And now this becomes tricky because their linebackers aren't bad. They have Calvin Noy, they have Jamie Collins. These are guys that you know of in that linebacking room. But the issue is that they're good at one thing at this point in their careers, and that's run defending. They're still very good at that. They're still going to be able to stop the run. But they're not great pass defenders. They don't have a great pass coverage linebacking room. Now, they don't throw as many linebackers out in coverage as other teams because they don't run that type of a defense, but still it's something you can definitely exploit against them, especially when you're a Browns team that loves 12 personnel, which means heavier packages, which means forcing their linebackers out on the field. And again, the big thing that I've heard when people have talked about this game is people saying, well, Bill Belichick's going to make you play left-handed. Bill Belichick's going to take away what you need. If I were Bill Belichick, and I'm obviously not Bill Belichick, Let's just get that one out the way. Right? Bill Belichick knows more about football than me by default. I'm not even contesting that. But I think what people are missing when they surmise the obvious about what Bill Belichick may or may not do is that there is a sacrifice, right? If you go out and you go all out to stop the run against the Cleveland Browns, especially, you're putting a lot of linebackers out there against a team that runs a lot of 12 personnel. And what that does do for a team like the Patriots that does not have a good amount of pass coverage linebackers, right, is it leaves them really susceptible to play action passing. And I know Bill Belichick is well aware enough. I know, like, people act like Baker can't throw the football at times when they surmise some of these defensive game plans against the Browns. But he knows that Baker's really, really, really good in those play action sets. And if you go all out against the Browns and really sell out and put all those linebackers on the field to stop the run, then one, you're playing yourself out of your strength, right? Because your strength is your secondary. That's where you have the best personnel on this team. And you're putting yourself in a position where you'll try to be stopping what the Browns do well, but you would also be doing what you don't do well, which is putting linebackers out there and leaving yourself susceptible to leaving linebackers in coverage versus tight ends, which is going to be a specific weakness for this Patriots defense. So I think the Patriots aren't going to come out and attack as strongly against the run as a lot of people are assuming. I think the Patriots aren't going to go super heavy in their packages. They're going to do some things to stop the run. They're going to make some emphasis there, but I don't think they're going to go over the top or really be aggressive in their attempts to stop the Browns from running the football, just because they know that they have certain weaknesses in those personnel packages that can be exploited with specifically the Browns personnel, with them loving to go 12 against a team like the Patriots. So that's an interesting matchup, and for that reason, that gives the Browns the matchup advantage there against the Patriots. The Browns also have a good offensive line. They just re-signed two of their offensive linemen, so hopefully they play well this week. The big question for the Cleveland Browns, Nick Chubb, is he going to play? And Demetric Felton, is he going to play? This is a week where you would love to have Kareem Hunt back as well, because they're not great against defending running backs. Obviously, those linebackers are going to be in the same area of trouble as the tight end coverage issues that they have. So you would love to have Kareem Hunt. You would love to have Demetric Felton. Obviously, you would love to have Nick Chubb. I don't think that winning this game is out of question without Nick Chubb and Demetric Felton. I think you can still do it if you just have what you have right now, which is Baker Mayfield, the tight ends, and the wide receivers. So I think you'll be fine enough, even if you don't have Nick Chubb. If you do, it's an added bonus. If you get Kareem Hunt back, that's really, really good. But even if you don't, I think you can still win this game. From the Browns standpoint, I think they're going to try that play action early, see if Bill Belichick does go aggressive in his run stopping, to see if they can get some early plays to get ahead, to kind of force that Patriots offense to be out of rhythm and not do what they want to do from a play calling standpoint. I think that's how the Browns are going to try to attack this. And I think that the Browns will be able to attack this well. I think the Patriots defense, while it's good, they're good at things that aren't as relevant against the Cleveland Browns as they are against a team like the Chargers, right? A team like the Chargers that pushes downfield nonstop, your safeties and your corners are going to be really important. Or a team like the Carolina Panthers, right, that don't do much well, but they rely on Sam Darnold a lot, and Sam Darnold can throw a lot of interceptions. Obviously, they're going to shine in that game. But a team like Cleveland that relies on tight ends for pass production, that relies on their running backs a lot for pass production, that relies on their offensive line and their run blocking, it's not really the greatest matchup in the world for the New England defense. And given that is the strength of this New England football team by far, the offense is okay, but they really rely off that defense being able to create turnovers and extra opportunities. And with their offense kind of falling into the same wheelhouse of the Browns' defense, I just don't think this is a matchup that favors the Patriots in a lot of ways. So I think the Browns, even if they don't have Chubb, even if they don't have Demetric Felton, should still be able to win this game if they just have what is supposed to be on the roster right now, despite all the difficulties they're going through with some of the virus protocols. So we'll see what happens on Sunday. Ultimately, though, after this preview, I feel really good about the Browns' chances. Let me know about your thoughts down in the comment section below. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day and have a good night.